So first I'm going to open up the cat as its own file. So open, and I'm going to open cat large. And here, what I'm going to do first is to do select and mask. If you choose any of the selection tools, you'll see it pop up at the top here. And so I could go the lasso tool, I could go the magic wand tool, or if I click and hold, I could be in this quick selection tool and you'll still see select and mask. If for some reason this doesn't come up on top, go to select and select and mask here. Now, the quickest way, if you have a white background and it's really clear what your subject is, you can try this select subject and see if it works. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And depending on how large your image is. So here it worked pretty well. You see that it has the outline, the marching ants around the cat, and you'll see it's missed a little bit of the foot and a little bit of the edge over here. And you'll see how tiny my cursor is right now. And that's because I'm in the selection tool, the quick selection tool. And so if I want to expand a selection, this will automatically add to it. But to increase the size of my brush, I'm going to press the right bracket key or the left bracket key to shrink it down. The same thing as if you're working with the paintbrush. And so here I'm just going to expand it out a little bit. I'm going to expand it out down here. I'm going to push this back in right there. Come back out, and I can zoom in and kind of nudge it back and forth. Loop, Command Z or Control Z. Nudge this back, and let's push this one and add to it a little bit. Cool. So that looks pretty good. And then I can use this button here to mask. Now to use the select and mask tool, I'm going to Command Z or Control Z to get back. I can go to select and mask. Now yours probably looks a little bit different by default. Yours, when you open it up, probably has this onion skin. I prefer to use the overlay, which is a little bit easier to see. And this will show you the masked areas. And the tool that's here is the same thing as the quick selection tool. So I'm going to increase the size of my brush, and it allows me to paint on really quickly my subject. And depending on the speed of your computer, it'll go faster or it'll go slower. Because I am using my recording software and doing this at the same time, it tends to run a little bit slower. You can see I'm adding to my mask, and this is showing me the revealed content, and I'm pushing it out. And I can press the Alt or Option key to do the minus, or I can come up here and press minus as well. So that's selected here, and I'm going to hold down Alt or Option to push it back in, and just a little bit down here. Now this is good enough for right now for just doing a basic sort of mask on our figure. And I'm going to scroll down, and by default this output settings will be twirled up, so twirl it down, and you'll see this option to output directly to a layer mask. And I'm going to click that and say OK. And you'll see that it's done a really nice selection around our object. Now, if I want to change something about it, I can always double click here, and it'll bring me back to select and mask. When I double click, it opens up the properties window, or I can go to window and properties, and I have the option to go select and mask, and it'll bring me back to this window here. And to get out of this, just press escape to get out. Now, if I did the opposite of what I wanted in the mask, I can press invert, and that'll invert it. Or if I want to feather the edges, just make them softer, you'll see here, now we're going into Dreamtown. So once I have this, I would do File, Save As, and save it as a Photoshop file. And this one is going to be Select and Mask. One last thing, if I want to trim my image to just be around what I have here, I can go to Image, Trim. It's going to ask, what do you want to trim to? And I say the transparent pixels and say OK. And notice that it crops it directly to my transparent pixels. So that way it just maintains a little bit of a smaller file. Command S or Control S. And then here, File, Place Linked, And now I can do cat large here, shrink it down.